This is the second in a series of mini-lectures on the subject of judicial punishment, when and if it is justifiable to fine, imprison, amputate limbs, or execute people convicted of committing crimes. This lecture will focus on the followers of the late 18th and early 19th century English philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Followers of Bentham are usually called Benthamites, and they represent a very important tradition in the philosophy called utilitarianism. Bentham was not religious, so there's no hidden religious agenda in what follows. For Benthamites, the thing that matters most of all in human life is pleasure, or what comes to the same thing, reducing pain. The Benthamite argues that we humans are all programmed to pursue pleasure and reduce pain, that this is what shapes the whole of our lives, whether we like it or not. The aim of punishment for the Benthamite, therefore, is to help produce as much pleasure for as many people as possible. And crime is therefore one of the ways in which pain is inflicted on the community. For the Benthamite, the punishments inflicted by the criminal justice system can only be justified if they actually reduce the overall level of pain inflicted by crime. Punishments that fail to do this should be changed or abolished. Various things follow from this. Firstly, Benthamites are not interested in making punishments fit the crime. The idea that serious crime should always be punished with serious punishments and small crime should always be punished by trivial punishments. No. Benthamites are only interested in the effect that punishments have. It may be that fairly trivial actions undertaken by a handful of people may in themselves produce overall a great deal of communal discomfort. So, inflicting a major punishment on that minority of offenders with the aim of deterring them can be justified. The test, of course, is whether the punishment is not whether or not the punishment is fair, but whether it has the desired effect. The Benthamite is therefore exclusively concerned with whether punishments actually deter criminals or reforms them. Punishment involves inflicting pain, so for the Benthamite it can only be justified if overall it reduces the amount of pain in the community. Another thing that follows from this is that the Benthamite will accept that it can be sometimes acceptable to punish innocent people if the overall effect is to reduce the amount of pain in the community as a whole. If punishing a particular behaviour that inflicts pain deters people from engaging in it, the Benthamite will accept, for example, that sometimes the criminal justice system will convict the innocent. But if the punishment still works, if it reduces the overall amount of pain, the Benthamite will say that occasionally punishing the innocent is an acceptable cost. The suffering of a handful of innocent people is outweighed by the reduction of the amount of pain in the community as a whole. Another thing that follows from the Benthamite's view of the world is that crimes that inflict little or no actual physical pain are by definition far less serious than the same act when it inflicts pain. So, if somebody assaults you whilst you are unconscious and leaves no injury, this should not be treated the same as the same act when it is inflicted on somebody who is conscious. The Benthamite is bound to say, for example, that what was morally reprehensible about the repeated assaults on Gisèle Pellicot while she was sedated was the effect of the sedatives on her brain, not the actual physical assaults. For the Benthamite, the same assaults performed whilst she were conscious would have been far more morally reprehensible because of the amount of pain involved, and only because of the amount of pain involved. To sum up, nothing for the Benthamite, nothing at all, however morally scandalous you think it might be, is bad in itself. For the Benthamite, things are bad only if they happen to produce bad consequences, above all the amount of pain in the community. Would it have been justifiable to murder Hitler? The Benthamite would answer yes, if it would have reduced the overall amount of pain in the world, and no, if it fails to reduce the overall amount of pain in the world. There's nothing right or wrong about murder in itself, only its consequences. Thus says the Benthamite.